Well, welcome to Scoop World Order. We have got the Buckeye Scoop website up on our deal. We're ready to get rolling on here. Our game thread is popping off. The website is going crazy right now, so I suggest you guys join Buckeye Scoop in advance of the Notre Dame game. With that being said, as always, thank you guys for joining us, and I appreciate you guys always. If you guys enjoy this content, leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I saw Parkersburg, Wheelersburg, Naples, Columbus, Los Angeles, probably people in South Bend that are Buckeye fans watching. So shout us out. Tell me where you're watching from. Who needs to be the MVP tomorrow? Got to get right into the predictions. Nevada, what is your prediction for tomorrow? It is one sleep away. The game of the year until we see Michigan and Ann Arbor is about to kick off. What is your prediction?
Well, first of all, my prediction is I saw a thing they're talking about from some of the ticket resellers, and they're predicting 40% Ohio State fans at the stadium based upon ticket reselling numbers and zip codes and things like that, which I find astonishing. I can't believe the number would be anywhere near that big, but will be really interesting to watch the crowd just to kind of see how many Ohio State fans are there. It's going to be a sea of green, and so I think the scarlet and gray fans will stick out like a sore thumb. So we'll know pretty quickly how many Ohio State fans were able to slip in there. But in terms of my score prediction, I've got Ohio State winning 27-20. I've got McCord and the O-line struggling a little bit early, trying to find their feet, and then kind of getting things going as they kind of move along. I just cannot imagine a scenario where Notre Dame scores more than 20 points. I think Notre Dame's really going to struggle to move the ball. I know Hartman's a clever quarterback. I know they've got a very good left tackle. I know they've got a very good running back, but I just don't think that they've got the horses to play with this Ohio State offense or this Ohio State defense. And ultimately, at the end of the day, athletes matter, speeds matters, coaching matters, and all the green jerseys and all the leprechauns and all the other stuff isn't going to mean anything. Ohio State winning 27-20 in a good football game on a Saturday night, good challenge for the Buckeyes.
If you were the equipment manager or you had any sort of vote in it, what jerseys would you wear on the road in South Bend when they're wearing the green jerseys?
Man, I'd wear the cocaine whites, man. Go with the cocaine whites and just go.
The white pants too?
Yes, I go all white, man. I go all white. I just think it's I love that look.
It's a clean look.
Yeah, it's clean, man. It reminds me. It's not quite there, but it kind of reminds me of the old days with Corny Green when he was playing quarterback. Corny Green was my all-time favorite quarterback, and that time when he takes they're in the big loaded formation, and he takes it in the end zone against USC, and then does the little dance in the end zone. And the guy jump on. I mean, I remember that play so vividly as a youngster watching, because I knew at that moment we were going to win, and it was such just an amazing feeling. And that always brings it back. Whenever I see those white jerseys, it reminds me of those great teams in the 70s. And that's really when my fandom for Ohio State got rooted heavily.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I'd wear the All Blacks. I think the All Blacks are the hardest jerseys there are. I'm not jealous of anything in life, but I wish I could have worn the All Blacks and kept my All Black jersey. That would have been one I framed. I have no jerseys framed right now. I would have framed the All Blacks, but I love your prediction. I think that, again, the O-line tackles are new, center's new. I mean, they're not young guys, but they're guys that haven't played in big environments, like in big games. This is going to be, I don't know how many, Jimmy Simmons at San Diego State was ever in the game of the week, the massive, publicity and media and pressure. Josh Fryer's played one game, at Indiana last year. Against Indiana last year at Indiana. He's got his 3 starts in, but they've never seen anything like Notre Dame, all this pressure. But the benefit is they don't have a major pass rush threat on Notre Dame. The D-line is way down. So again, I think it's styles make fights. So our defensive line is an A to A plus type D-line. Their offensive line is probably a B plus to an A minus at the best day, probably more of a B plus ish deal. So that's a good matchup. Our O line is probably about a B, and I think that their D line is about a C plus. So, again, I think that there's the styles make fights, matchups are everything. And again, we have Marvin and Mecca. So as much as they talk about their quarterback Hartman, I would take our skill guys plus our quarterback versus their skill guys and their quarterback any day of the week because we have Marvin and Mecca. Marvin, literally, we posted an article from ESPN.com's draft service talking about how is Marvin the highest rated guy since Calvin Johnson, and most of the scouts and GMs agree. They think he's the highest rated, cleanest prospect that they've seen since Calvin when he came to the league in '07. So again, you look at that kind of stuff, it sounds crazy, it looks crazy, but we have better players than they do. They they're not keeping any of their receivers. If they could get Julian Fleming for their number one, they do. If they get Carnell Tate for their number one, they do. If they get Innes for their number one, they do it. I mean, so like, don't discount that. And everybody likes to hype up this quarterback who's got 50 starts. And again, I think their biggest advantage in the entire game is their quarterback. I mean, their quarterback is much more experienced. He's 50 starts to Kyle McCord's 3 starts or 4 starts if you got the Akron start from a few years ago. But I mean, he still has to work with his O-line. He has to work with his receivers. And Kyle just has to play his game and not be frazzled. And again, this is on Ryan Day. If Ryan Day screws the pooch and makes Kyle McCord win the game, then we're not going to be in great shape. But if he lets Marvin win the game and Emeka and Trey, we'll be in great shape. Because again, our skill guys are so overwhelmingly powerful versus Notre Dame's skill guys, especially on defense. I don't see how we lose this. I'm going to go. It's hard for me to put in a field goal, so I'm going to say 35-21 Ohio State. I think that too much defense, too much Jim Knowles. Again, people like to crap on Jim Knowles. I think Jim Knowles is calling defense as good as anybody in the country right now. And again, call me biased, call me whatever, but I'm a big numbers guy. Numbers are the best thing in the world. Numbers are the ultimate truth. So 6 points a game on defense. Again, he doesn't make the schedule, but everyone he's going against, he's shutting down. And I think that he's in the zone. I think we have Tommy and Steele leading that defense with Mike Hall, Tyleek, Jack, JT. Our corners are fantastic with Denzel and Davison. Our nickel with Jordan Hancock is fantastic. Josh Proctor's playing at an absolute crazy level right now. There's no kid in the entire history of Ohio State that I'm rooting for more than Josh Proctor after what he went through last year when he was benched and sent to Siberia for literally the entire season after 3 plays against Notre Dame or whatever it was. Like that, the fact that kid didn't portal, stuck around, it is now our starting, free safety, bandit, adjuster, Quasimodo, whatever they call the dumb safety positions. Like whatever he's playing at a fantastic level and he's showing up all over the film. I just think there's a lot of momentum. And again, I just look at the talent on both sides of the ball. I look at the talent on the coaching staffs. Like, if we lose this game, like Ryan Day should be in trouble because I'm telling you, like he's got 4 aces going into the poker game. And if you have 4 aces, you shouldn't lose many unless you run into that royal flush, which this is not a royal flush team. This is a king high kind of team. So that's just my opinion. Nevada, any rebuttal to that? Any agreement, disagreement on what I said?
No, I don't disagree with anything you said, and but I did want to get your thoughts. There was a big thing breaking today about how Lou Holtz kind of came out, and Lou, first of all, Lou is one of my all-time favorite guys. I love listening to him talk. Great Ohio State guy. His stories are just legendary. So today, talking to a Notre Dame crowd, got a little loose. Basically called Ohio State and Ryan Day soft. Not basic, he did. Called him soft. How does that stuff play? You as a player, is bulletin board material really a thing? And is bulletin board material the night before a game? Is it really a thing? And how could that potentially play into tomorrow night? How will Ohio State use that, if at all? Do you think it gets used?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these kids, here's the deal. It won't be from internally inside the program. It's not going to be Ryan Day or Mark Pantoni, like at the Xerox machine, printing these off and sending him the papers or whoever. It's going to be their phones. Their phones will be blown up by the people that are their moms, dads, uncles, friends, classmates, whoever. They'll all be sending them that same tweet where Lou Holtz, and again, God bless Lou Holtz. I think Lou Holtz is a fantastic coach. He's the guy that basically made Urban Meyer when Urban was the receivers coach for him. But that being said, he's a Notre Dame legend. So, if Notre Dame was playing the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday night, or the Philadelphia Eagles, he'd be like, "Oh well, we got the best line in the world, and the quarterback's amazing, and Marcus Freeman gets his hair cut with a zero fade and wears Gucci sunglasses, and I mean, because he's a Notre Dame guy, he's a Notre Dame honk, and that is, nobody from Ohio State cares about Lou Holtz, and they never will. But at Notre Dame, he's like a god. He's a guy that everybody reveres, and they name their dogs Lou and that type of thing. So but I don't think that Ryan, like again, this won't be like an internal thing. Ryan Day probably won't even mention it. Ryan Day's not going to go in the speech and say, well, Lou Holtz called you soft. But the players will see it. And again, it all comes down to, do the players really love the coach? Because if that was Jim Tressel and it was me, TJ Downing, David Patterson, Quinn Peck, some of these guys that, we're roughnecks now. We're tough guys. I mean, we weren't, and we were, we were off the chain when we were playing. I mean, we were not out there to make friends and cut deals. We're out there to, wreck people. Like if they said that about Jim Tressel, or I mean, it would be, I mean, that's real. Like, I mean, and we don't need Jim Tressel to say, hey, Kirk and TJ, come defend our honor, please. No, it would be like, no, we got you, coach. We'll show you how soft we are. And we'll show you how soft, like Antonio Pittman and Troy Smith, Teddy, Santonio Holmes, AJ, Kudla, like when we played those guys in 05, like, okay, you can call us soft. We'll go, blow your ACL out, and we'll go whoop you, and we'll put 600 yards up on you. So again, it's not, I don't think it's an internal thing, but if you really love your coach, you got to defend your coach. Like when you have friends, or you have like great friends, like you're very defensive of them. And again, it's not because they're weak. It's because you believe in them, so someone attacks your boy, and it's not because they're, some little, innocent little flower or whatever. It's more because like you really believe in them, and you're gonna go whoop them. And again, that's like, like someone said that about Trust, man, it'd be game over, because Trust, little Mr. Rogers, little vest on and glasses and all that. But we weren't taking any of that from Notre Dame. And if Lou Holtz said that about us in 05, again, we already wrecked them, but we were roughnecks, and we had Nick and Robbie, and we had some rough dudes on that team. But it just depends on how much you love your coach, how much you want to defend your coach. Because again, I heard what Lou Holtz said, and I was stunned because, again, for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, as much as you want to rile up the crowd, and you're with McAfee, and McAfee's drinking wild turkey and in a tank top, acting like a douchebag, eventually you're just like, coach, this doesn't help us when you incite the riot and you incite the crowd, and all of a sudden, these guys that maybe they weren't motivated, now they are. And again, if you're not motivated to play and beat Notre Dame, then I think you're a corpse. But just in case you weren't, like Lou Holtz threw some jet fuel on the fire, and it just went, to a very high level.
I think when you played in 05, when your season motto was tough love, and then 06 was love conquers all, which one was better? Which one was more inspiring to you? The tough love?
I think Ohio State logged in and muted you when you said that. As you were saying that, I think that the ghost of Mark Pantoni logged on and muted you as you said that, because they knew you were making fun of tough love and love tough and child love and NAMBLA and whatever else our sayings are. But no, like we did. I think ours was like, we always had some slogans that were just like kind of okay. I never really cared what the slogans were, but again, like. It's more about just like, again, I had zero love. My love was just about winning, and a lot. The thing I loved when I played was violence. Like, I loved a lot of violence, and I loved like watching film and seeing violence on film, like double teams, cutting guys, putting my helmet through their ACLs. Like that's what I loved. I didn't love anything. I didn't need to get a hug and a kiss from my coach or any of that, or tough love, because you didn't have to motivate me. Again, I sent you that Tom Great that. If you guys haven't seen the Tom Brady clip from Bleacher, I think it was Bleacher Report or Fanatics, one of those, they did a little convention where we talked about he didn't have friends on the other teams. He didn't like anybody on the other team. He hated everybody on that team. Like, that's kind of what it used to be. That's what I was. Like, I wasn't about cutting deals or, praying with those guys after the games or giving them a hug and a kiss after the games. Like, that's just not how I was. That's not the mold I was from. So, but I wasn't tough love or huggy poo or, God Bless America or State of the Union with Joe Biden. Like that's not how it was cut out. Does that answer your question all right?
Well, yeah, I think for you, I can understand how those types of slogans would fire a guy like you up, and I just you know but I do. But all kidding aside, I do like the idea of like the motivation because like as fans always look at this stuff and they're like, oh, that's going to fire them up, that's going to motivate them, and I always wonder how much does external sources really do that? And was there a game in particular that you can think of that you were really fired up because of something that came externally?
Well, I mean, Charlie Weiss was a total douchebag leading up to the '05 game. We had like a FCA breakfast with him, and he was a douchebag. And he might not even realize he's being a douchebag, but it motivated us. It got us fired up pretty good. And we were ready to go to war like immediately just because, he didn't, and again, he was trying to be whatever, but, we didn't take it the right way. We didn't like it. We didn't like, and again, I don't like people being arrogant 'cause hell, I'm arrogant. I don't really care, but I just think that some guys they're over the top with it. And Notre Dame leading into that game, he was the greatest offensive coach in the history of mankind. He had Brady Quinn. He had all these like fantastic players, and he could script 20 plays and go off the script after 2 plays and have a decisive schematic advantage and all this other like trash that like stupid idiots in the media actually believed. And I was like, dude, like you can have all the advantage you want. I was like, we got AJ Hawk, we got Dante Whitner. Like we're gonna tax you like hard, like heavily. Like it's gonna look like I told him I was like, these guys at Notre Dame had a curfew at 7 p.m. for the entire week they're there. We didn't have a curfew like until the last night. So I mean, it was like, when you lock us, these gorillas, these apes, these wild animals up versus these choir boys, like it's gonna look like the bar scene in Bronx Tales, which is like one of my favorite movies. But that's kind of what it was. Like, I mean, we were out, we were kicking it, and we weren't. When it was time to cut loose, finally, I mean, we were cutting loose, and it was nasty. And again, we knew we had speed, we knew we had talent, and again, that's what like these Notre Dame people. The thing about Notre Dame is they don't really believe they can beat us. So you have to have all this bluster and all this garbage and all this trash. It's like Peter McNeely fighting Mike Tyson. Like Peter McNeely didn't think he could fight Mike Tyson, but he talked all this trash about his hometown and he's Irish and all this other crap. And then like Mike Tyson walks out in the ring, knocks him out in 3 minutes or whatever it was. But that's what it's like Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Like they would go light every candle in the grotto to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and get a Mecca and get our skill guys, even Julian Fleming, who's just like a C D-lister guy, let alone Carnell Tate, who they A-lister, Ennis A-lister, even Cade Stover. I mean, those guys would all be number one options at Notre Dame. So again, I think there's a lot of bluster. Again, I don't fault Lou Holtz. I don't fault Brady Quinn because again, they're Notre Dame honks. They have to be. They don't have to be objective. They don't have to really study film. They do a very arm's length, dissertation of what the game's going to be. But I just don't see it. Again, if we lose, it's because of Ryan Day and Justin Fry. They didn't get Kyle McCord ready. They didn't get the O-line ready because the rest of the team is dialed in. Our D-line is dialed in. Our linebackers are playing fantastic. Our secondaries as good as we've had since 19. So it's going to come down to the O-line. It's going to come down to McCord. And again, like that's on coaching, and again, if Ryan Day with 4 aces loses to Marcus Freeman, that's on him, I mean, because Marcus, again, if you put a gun to Marcus's head and you said, hey, would you rather coach at Ohio State or Notre Dame? He's coming to Ohio State like tonight, like leaving Notre Dame saying, wow, I can get all those great players and I don't have to gin it up with a bunch of slow possession receivers and weak guards and a terrible D-line and go pray that I get a transfer quarterback. Because imagine if they don't get the transfer quarterback. They're probably 6-6. I mean, they lost to Marshall at home last year and people were acting like they're some sort of juggernaut, but I just don't see it. Rebuttal, Nevada?
No, I think it's always interesting to hear. And, I think people, I know I like to hear kind of what the guys are going through coming into this last 24 hours, being there in an environment like that where you're sitting around waiting all day for the game, I mean, I guess tomorrow you'll have a walkthrough in the morning, what then a meal. Did you take a nap in the afternoon before the games, or is that a thing? And if
So okay,
hockey players all take
no,
naps.
no, but this is a great little deal. So this is why I used to hate road games. I used to hate night games because with a night game you have like 3 walkthroughs. You have like one at 7 or 8. You have one at like 11, and then you have one at like 2, and then you leave for the stadium at like 4. Because you try to get there like 2 hours in advance. So if it's a 30-minute commute or whatever, so basically the only difference between like a noon game and a night game is like you have like 2 extra walkthroughs. So like the middle of the day, you've got, excuse me, a little bit of time where it's just Urban was almost like satanic with it because he like wouldn't let guys sleep for 3 straight hours. He's like, oh, I don't want to be all groggy and tired, so let's get him up in the middle of it and have him go to this suite that's got food and peanut butter and jellies and fruit roll-ups, and have him grab a sandwich and have him drink a Gatorade, in the middle of it all. And like, I hated that because I'm like, I'd rather just sleep and go right through it and then wake up at, 1:30 or whatever and be ready to rock, for the rest of the night. But with the 3 walkthroughs, man, it gets so redundant. You get so tired of it. Like, again, it's kind of like when we do our podcast. Like, I've watched so much Notre Dame film. I've watched Central Michigan, watched Navy, I've watched their all 22 cut-ups, I've watched last year's Ohio State game. Like, at this point, when it's Friday, again, I almost feel like I'm a player. I'm sick of watching them. I'm sick of talking about them. I'm sick of doing tip sheets and tests and walking through, and this is what they're going to do, and so what we think they're going to do. Like, eventually, you're just like, can we please just go play? Because we're tired of it. And again, that's something that these players are going through because they're going to go through like 3 walkthroughs tomorrow. And it's like, Ryan Day and Fry and Brian Hartline running the walkthroughs and scripted, and okay, get a scout team defense out there. And like, it gets redundant. And again, if it's a noon game, they get 1 walkthrough. If it's a night game, it's 3 walkthroughs. So it sucks. And for me, like like I said, I just like to get in, get out, get my work in. But it's a night game, primetime game. You got to manage it. You got to eat your breakfast. You got to do your special teams walkthrough, do your 3 walkthroughs for the offense, defense. And the hardest part, like I said, is like you have to manage your rest because, like you said, hockey players, the difference between like an NHL player or a junior hockey player is they're used to playing in the evenings every night, except for they might play like one Saturday, like matinee game a year or 2 a year. But most of their games are 7:30 puck drops, or, like a lot of NBA players, like they sleep during the day because their games always start at 7:30. But for football, there's guys that play at noon, there's guys that play at 3:30, there's guys that play at 7, there's guys that play on Thursday nights, Friday nights, Monday nights. So it's a little bit of a different schedule. But yeah, I envy the guys that have a consistent deal. Like, those hockey guys, they know that they're going at 7:30 every night, and there's no, they might play one noon game a year. But like with football, the noon games are the best. But like I said, I just, you get this itch where you're just like, can we just go? Can we just go? Can we just go meet these guys on the field at noon and move the game up and get it cranking? Because you get tired of waiting. You get tired of tip sheets and tests, and because all these guys take tests the night before the game, like literally written tests where what's your assignment on this? What's your assignment on this? What's the blitz? What's the whatever? And for me, I just I was always like, let's just go play the game. Please, for the love of God, can we go play the game? And if we win, amazing. If we lose, we didn't do good enough in prep, but let's just go get it. Because eventually, everyone gets worn down by just massive preparation over the last 24 hours. Because, everyone right now, if they said, Marcus Freeman, Ryan Day, do you want to go play the game right now? They would say, yes. For the love of God, can we please go play this game and get it over with? Let's go win. Let's go lose. Let's go do whatever. Deal with the repercussions. There'll be one winner, one loser. I fully expect Ohio State to win. I will be shocked if we lose this one. Again, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, who's my teammate, good friend of mine. This is his second year as a coach. He lost to Marshall at home last year. Ryan Day's been coaching since 19 as a head coach. He's won a playoff game against Clemson, coaching a national championship game, almost beat Georgia last year. I mean, his credentials, his experience is dramatically higher than Marcus. But again, it's my opinion. Anything can happen. But rebuttals to that, Nevada.
Oh no, I think it's fascinating hearing about the the preparation on the game day. I'm sure the players are ready to go. I know I'm ready to go. I think it's going to be just it's going to just be a great celebration of college football. I think games like this are really the reason I love college football. It's all,
Yeah.
the pageantry and the colors and the bands and the history of the rivalry. And that's why, I shudder to think a little bit about where college football is heading with NIL, with playoff expansion, with, a lot of things that are going on right now. That are kind of, I think eroding a little bit of what makes college football special. But tomorrow is going to be a great celebration of it, and certainly going to enjoy the fact that Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1936, and I don't expect it to happen anytime soon. So let's go get them.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Again, like, I know this isn't, you guys don't have to go too deep. If you get on bucketscoop.com's YouTube page, I uploaded the 95 game, 96 game, '05 game, 2015 game. What's the common denominator? We're bigger, we're faster, and we're stronger. So again, go watch that tape. Again, you can say a lot's changed. Nothing's changed between Notre Dame and Ohio State. Notre Dame still has crazy academic restrictions. They have no in-state recruiting base. They can't get, Notre Dame, for one, is not a cool brand. So, when you watch these kids that are down in Miami, like I watched the Chaminade Julian game last night with J.J. Smith and JoJo Trader playing. None of those kids have, they all have these logos on the back of their helmets where it's like Pitt, NC State, Ohio State, Florida State, Miami. It's like kind of the in vogue thing that they do in South Florida is like when a kid is like committed or interested in a school, they put a big giant logo decal on the back of their helmet. None of those kids have Notre Dame on there. So guess what? Notre Dame's not getting any speed, and they can cry about academics, but that's their fault. I mean, they got it's like I told my friend who's a diehard Notre Dame fan, they got Devontae Neal into school. So if they can get him into school, like you could get one of my Ford Raptor tires into school, basically, because they've got about the same GPA. So, they can cry about the academic stuff, but, they get a lot of people that are dumb into Notre Dame to play football. But with that being said, we're going to wrap this thing up. Guys, we've said about all we can say. We're going to have a pregame show tomorrow, post-game show tomorrow. We're going to be cranking a lot of content. We appreciate you guys. If you guys are on buckeyescoop.com, get in that game thread. Let's hear your predictions. I want to see who's going to win, who's going to lose. Put that down in the comments. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I want to know, what are your plans to watch this game? Are you at your friend's house? Where are you guys going to be at? So let me know. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Skip family. It's time to go beat Notre Dame. Tired of all the talking. Time to go put our fists into their mouth and go whoop the Irish. Thank you as always, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Skip family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.